What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Breaking news edition. It is June 21st, 2016. Raj, I don't know how many times this year we have done podcasts and said, this might be the biggest news story of the year.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then this article gets posted. And at the current moment, it is at, let's see, 1,500 comments on the main page.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns has failed a wellness test. This is a shocker.
It is a shocker. I cannot remember the last time you've seen a big name popped for a wellness policy violation. I mean, it's been years. I mean, you've had smaller guys like Hornswoggle and Adam Rose, but I cannot remember the last time you've had someone of this significance. Which for a long time, I mean, it made you doubt the wellness policy, just because, I mean, you can look at some guys and suspect certain things. And the fact that you never hear about any suspensions, whereas UFC, you hear about them all the time, granted they do, you saw the testing now and everything, but still, made you seem like something was amiss. But the fact that they're suspending their top star, one of their top stars right now, shows that they're serious about drug test failures. Or if that's what it is. I guess it's not clear that it was a drug test failure or something else. But yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, I've been several people have said it's rumored to be cocaine. We don't know what it is. Nobody knows what it is now except for the WWE and Roman Reigns. Anybody telling you that is wrong. I mean, it could end up being that, but not as of now. The last big name to fail a test was Randy Orton in 2012. He was suspended for 60 days for his second violation, and Rey Mysterio was suspended a month before that. Other than that, it's been pretty much just lower name guys since Mysterio in 2009. So he's suspended for 30 days. That suspension is up before the Battleground pay-per-view. Do you think they keep him on the show?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm guessing they have no idea. And I know, we're getting a lot of emails asking what's going to happen. No one knows. I mean, they just announced it. There have been no decisions made. Man, what do you think? You think they should keep that main event intact?
Here's the thing. He's going to have to be a heel. Maybe. We talked about this off the air briefly. If he ruins the Shield triple threat match, good luck. I mean, he's failing a drug test. Now, as we'll talk about in a minute, that's not a death nail or anything. But if he ruins that match for the fans, this is like, one dream match that fans have waited for. It's going to be hard to bring him back in that. I mean, he won't be able to be on any Raws. He'll miss the draft. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, his suspension
SmackDowns either.
His suspension will be up, so he can be. I mean, there's no reason, it wouldn't be breaking any rules, and you could just do the match build between Rollins and Ambrose until that point. Man, I think it sets a bad example, though. If you do keep it, I think it should be changed to just Ambrose and Rollins, and then you could do the Shield triple threat. I mean, you can still do it at SummerSlam once Reigns is back. So, I mean, if it were me, I'd probably change it.
Now, off the air, we were talking about how failing a drug test might.
And real quick, there are other things that could trigger a wellness policy violation.
Sure.
There are, some over-the-counter things you could take, and so we don't know if it's a drug test.
I mean, fat burners trigger it. There are several things you can buy at GNC. I managed a GNC once. There are tons of products that you can take there that will show up on drug tests. Roman Reigns issued a statement on Twitter. He said he apologizes to his family, his friends, and fans for his mistake in violating the WWE's wellness policy. No excuses. I own it. You think that was the right move, just coming out? straight up. And
Absolutely. I cannot stand when it's, when people, throw every excuse in the book and when it's clear that, they messed up. The man's fessing up to it, props to him. Everybody makes mistakes. You see how it affects top guys. It doesn't really, he'll still come back. He'll still be, near the top. And I don't see this affecting him too much. So, he messed up, and props to him for admitting it and taking his punishment like a man.
Guys, send in your questions. We will answer them here. Somebody says, wonder how they're going to write them off. Even if they do, I mean, they've suspended him now, so I'd be surprised if they had him on SmackDown tonight.
Right, yeah. I mean, they could just do – I mean, I'm guessing the way they've dealt with it in the past is they don't mention it on TV. And, I could see them just doing something – as casual as them just saying, look, Roman Reigns is out. I want you one-on-one, just do it, you and me, and, with Rollins and Ambrose, and just do that. And then, get the main event changed, because it's clear it'll probably be Ambrose and Rollins if Reigns is out. And that's if Reigns is out. They could just keep it on and just not have him appear on TV for a month. It would be awkward, but they've done that before.
Somebody says, dumbest mistake a WWE guy has ever done. I don't know. I mean, Jimmy Snuka may have killed a woman. So
yeah, there's a lot worse. I mean, you've had domestic, abuse cases in the past and stuff like that. So there's definitely worse. If it is a drug violation, it's not the end of the world. It's a bad mistake, but there's worse things out there.
Somebody on our comment board is saying TMZ is reporting it's cocaine. No, they are not. I am on the page right now. No, they are not.
Let's just delete that.
Yeah. Guys, don't put stuff like that on there. That's ridiculous. Somebody says, who is getting suspended next? I'm not going to speculate that.
A better question: should he come back a heel? You think he will? Huh?
So this is what me and you talked about off the air. Yeah. It's like, because we had said, well, does he have to be a heel? And then I'm like, well, John Jones failed a drug test, and he's more popular than he's ever been. In fact, the entire narrative changed. Daniel Cormier was looking like a huge babyface in their rivalry, and now he gets booed out of buildings at press conferences while people embrace and love John Jones. So that's tough to say. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen with WWE. I'm sure that there are going to be some parents that don't encourage their kids to cheer for him as actively, though.
I've never seen a drug test really affect how the crowd feels towards a wrestler in WWE. Granted, things are different now. They're much more kid-oriented than they used to be. Back when Orton had failed and Mysterio and Jeff Hardy, it wasn't as geared to children as it is now, but it really made no difference when they came back. I would say do it now. Now you don't have to protect him as much as a babyface and as this John Cena Part 2, and they can let it out.
People are asking if he failed before or after Money in the Bank. Well, I mean, it's not unheard of that they find out about these failures and then have them finish up storylines, and they reserve the right to do that. That's just a part of their business. They did it with Rob Van Dam. They had him drop titles back to back. I feel like R-Truth maybe failed one, or
R-Truth he had with the synthetic marijuana.
Yeah, and I think Evan Bourne had to drop titles because of that.
Yeah, it was both of them together.
Yeah. So, it's hard to tell. I would be inclined to believe that he failed after, because they started this storyline and set a match last night. So I would almost definitely believe it was after, or else they wouldn't have even planned a triple threat match at Battleground. Or they would have written him off for a few weeks at the very least. So I would imagine that they probably just found the news of this out today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's no way they would have put him in the main event last night if they had known ahead of time.
Let's see. Do you all think it's a part of the storyline? Absolutely not.
No.
Not that is a bad look.
I know the wrestling fans are always skeptical. Like no matter what comes out, whether it's an injury, the first thing that so many people say is it a storyline? Is it an angle? This helps nobody. So no, absolutely not.
Is this WWE's way of saving the Shield triple threat for WrestleMania? No, they would have just done that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're forced into this match.
Somebody says, where were you when Roman Reigns failed his wellness test?
I was in the middle of writing an article.
I was enjoying my Tuesday off, as I always try to do until this news breaks. Every single Tuesday, it seems like. We had the Conor McGregor retirement on Tuesdays. We've had tons of stuff.
And we have a post up, a sound off post, asking what you guys think if Roman Reigns should be pulled from the Battleground main event. So make sure to go on there, and I'm gonna be throwing up a poll on there too, so you guys can answer yes or no as well.
Oh, I am super excited to moderate that post.
Yeah. What's the other one at now? You said it was 1,500 when we started.
Oh, it's
like getting to 2,000.
7. Yeah, probably close to that. Let me pull it up now. We've speculated what they might do if he'll compete at Battleground. If not, do you think that they will move the match back a month, or do you think they'll scrap it all together?
I don't know. I would think it's still, like I said, historically, these kinds of things haven't really hurt somebody standing in the company. I mean, Randy Orton, and Jeff Hardy have had multiple violations, and they came back right on top. So I would think that they'd probably just hold it off for a month. So much just depends on what they decide on the brand split, because that'll be tough to do after the brand split to set up a triple threat if the guys are all on different brands.
Yeah, I would like. I mean, they do have an out to do this, because Roman Reigns can come back. Like, if say he comes back after Battleground, and the rosters are drafted, there's maybe an inconclusive finish with Ambrose and Rollins. You can get a rematch there. Then you can get Roman Reigns to show up and say, well, I'm owed my rematch too, and I want in on this, because he still does have that rematch clause. Lots of weird takes on these posts. Somebody said, I was always suspicious of Reigns. He never got hurt. That isn't true at all. He missed several months.
Yeah.
On multiple occasions, he was out. He had facial surgery. He had a sports hernia. Somebody says, looks like he'll be jobbing on Main Event and Superstars. Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah. We've covered that.
Somebody says his daughter spiked his tea at one of their tea parties.
Jeez. Oh, man.
Oh, gosh. The Roman Empire has fell again.
It's. I mean, this is a guy's livelihood. I mean, he messed up, but it also sucks, on a personal level, just as a person to, it's a very public. I mean, already TMZ, a couple other outlets, ESPN, SportsCenter tweeted it out. He's paying a hefty price for this mistake.
Yeah, if our comment section is any indication, he's going to want to stay off the internet for a while. I can't imagine what his Twitter mentions are like right now. That is...
It's just on auto block every tweet you get,
Maybe now people will stop bringing signs about me to Raw, and they'll just worry about Roman Reigns. Let's see. Somebody says, totally disagree with the host. I bet they absolutely knew about this before today and even Sunday night. Again, guy, that does not make sense. They would have not scheduled a triple threat match and not written him off of the show had they known about this before then. That makes no sense. Somebody says, is this the worst timed violation ever? I think Rob Van Dam's is probably worst timed because he held 2 championships.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's right. He was WWE champion when that happened. But I don't know. This might be worse just from the fact that how Reigns has been pushed. He's been, basically the new face of the company. So, I think this one's actually a little worse.
They said, is it possible they knew, had him drop the title, and quickly sewed up the triple threat when his suspension is over? Sorry. Anything's possible, but it's hard for me to believe that they would have him just go out like that with no explanation for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, when Undertaker wrestled Bray Wyatt, he didn't appear on TV at all. It was, Bray Wyatt, doing all the building. Man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. But I mean, creatively you could do it. You just you do a lot of Shield videos. You kind of keep Rollins and Ambrose kind of separate, doing different promos, and you could definitely do it. But man, it's a long time between pay-per-views. This isn't a 3-week gap. We got 5 weeks, so
he comes back. He comes back. It's such a bad timing, unless they say, let me see.
Well, they could still draft him and not have him there.
Sure.
They could, or another thing they could do is you have the first half of the draft on SmackDown, and you don't do the full draft, and you say the rest of the draft will be on Raw, and then that way you could get Reigns and whoever else.
So his 30th day is the live SmackDown.
Well, yeah. Well, the 30th day will be. I have it in the Sound Off article. July 21st will be.
Well, that's if they don't include today.
Yeah, 30 days from today is July 21st, and usually that means they're still suspended that day. So,
and that's after.
But it's either way. Yeah, both.
That's after the go home Raw and SmackDown.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So it's going to be interesting. I mean, unless they have it in like a pre-tape on Superstars, they're not getting him on TV or something like that. And they're not doing that.
Right.
How do you think they handle the draft with him?
Like I said, you could we could like I said, they could do half of it on Smack, because usually the draft isn't complete the night of the draft. They have the supplemental draft and stuff like that, and they could easily spread it out over 2 shows. So I could see them doing half on SmackDown and then doing the other half, or you draft Roman Reigns and just show a video of him, saying SmackDown gets Roman Reigns, and just leave it at that.
Somebody says, any chance you guys can get an audio only service to go along with YouTube videos? I love listening to your podcast, but can't listen and do other things with my phone and YouTube. We do. It's on the bottom of every single podcast post that we have ever done in the history of ever.
After the podcast is done,
yes.
It's available for download on iTunes, and you can listen to it on Stitcher, Google Play, and we put the audio embed once we've uploaded within usually within like a half an hour.
Yeah, and there's also, you can do a direct download as well. Somebody says, how do they write him off for a month? Do they write him off for a month?
They usually don't. Like I said, Randy Orton, he just disappeared for a while. Granted, this is a little different because it's, a guy involved in your main event angle. But, you could turn the focus to Ambrose and Rollins and just kind of, like I said, just do Shield videos if you want to keep the main event intact. Otherwise, just don't mention him. When Bray Wyatt, he was thrust, into the top babyface spot almost, before he got injured. And then there was no mention of him until last night. So they do that all the time.
Somebody says that Brian Alvarez says on his radio show that WWE did know. I still have a hard time believing that, due to the nature in which, are they going to say that a Dirty Deeds put him out for 30 days? I doubt that.
Right. I just think they would have done an injury angle or something if they knew about it.
Yeah, it would not have been hard to do that. It would not have been hard to do that. And if they knew, then, you could set up, have somebody else attack Roman Reigns. And then when he does come back at Battleground, like just throwing a name out there, like if Sheamus attacked him, then Roman Reigns could show up and clobber him in 20 seconds, a minute at Battleground, and then you set up the triple threat or whatever.
Or you just do something tonight, he's suspended, but just do one last angle. I mean, it's their company; they could decide what they do, and at least you can tie up, the storylines and not leave it hanging. I mean, you're taping tonight.
Now, Raj, before we go, I wanted to talk a little bit about this UFC thing. The UFC sent out an internal memo denying the sale of the company and the reports from Flow Combat. Now, it's interesting, and it must be noted, Flow Combat never reported a sale of the UFC. They reported that a bid was accepted.
Right.
And the fact that the UFC has been shopping around is that it is a fact. I've been sent documents. I've been sent information, which I can't really legally do much with, and there's not a lot really that is newsworthy, but it is happening. This is a thing that's going on. Why do you think this is a negotiation tactic on behalf of the UFC? Because if you remember several years ago, when UFC was trying to reach a deal with, I think it was NBC or ABC, and news came out that was about to happen, Dana White's like, oh, no, it's not. And then Fox came in and they got the deal and made a big bid for them. Do you think this is kind of another tactic, maybe?
I definitely think it could be, but we don't know for sure if it's not true. But the fact is the bids are already submitted, so I don't think it's a negotiating tactic because, that whole time period has passed. So yeah, I think there is a good chance that maybe it's not true, but what I'm guessing is that they're throwing a fit over the wording that the company was sold when the sale is not done yet. The bid was accepted. Now it's got to go through the legal channels. So but like you said, Flow Sports didn't report that the sale was done. They were saying that the bid was accepted. So we'll just have to wait and see. Only a handful of people know 100% sure.
And did you see the comments that Dana White had regarding the Ariel Helwani situation?
I did not.
Ooh, okay. I'll read these to you.
Is this on Twitter?
A little bit. Well, he was on UFC Unfiltered with Matt Serra.
Okay.
Here's what he said. He goes, well, Ariel got his credential back. I wouldn't say he's in decent graces. We built that promo. A lot of people were quiet about it, and a lot of people. It was for the fans. That was a thing for the fans, for that wow factor to go, oh, Brock's back. And the way that he did it, it had a lot of people pointing fingers at each other. You notice I wasn't out there putting the belt on Dominic Cruz. Then when I ran out to put the belt on Bisping, because I've been with him for 10 years, he's such a great guy. My sleeves are rolled up. I've got no jacket on because I'm dealing with the aftermath of the weasel move that Helwani pulled. People can call it journalism or whatever. We can have our differences of opinion on that, but he knows what he did, and he did it on purpose. Then he goes on his show, and he's crying and shit. Dude, your kids are going to see that, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? Give me an effing break. The bottom line is this. It was all about Ariel. Journalism is supposed to be when you're a guy that covers the sport, it's about the sport. What we did in that spot was for the fans, and a lot of good people worked hard to pull that thing off and make that thing happen and try to keep that a secret, including the WWE. And a lot of things were set in place. They graciously let us have Brock Lesnar, and a lot of things were set in place for them that had to be done. And it left a lot of people pointing the finger at each other, almost blew up a relationship and created a lot of bad blood behind the scenes, and he didn't care. It was all about him. Even after it was over, it was all about him and his big world tour pity party that he threw for himself. And he goes on crying on his show and shit. When you're a real journalist, you reach out and say, hey, this is the rumor. This is going on and everything else, and I'm going to run with it. That's what real journalists do. He's a website guy. You know what I mean? It's just a totally different world now. There are a lot of real journalists out there that before they do something, they reach out and show respect and have that relationship, whereas Ariel is not that guy. A lot of people support him and good for you and all that stuff, but a lot of people have turned on him too. And he says that he mocked Helwani crying and basically insinuated that almost ruined the WWE relationship.
Well, if it did, he has a right to be pissed. It's kind of he said, she said. ultimately, look, I kind of agree about some of the comments that Dana made with Ariel crying and everything. I was like, man, you didn't lose your job.
He wasn't going to lose his job. He's the best in the business. He wasn't going to lose his job.
It sucks what happened, but man, I thought it was, you know.
And let's be real. MMA fighting has Luke Thomas, Mark Raimondi, Sean El-Shadi. They have no shortage of unbelievable writers that could go cover those events live. So, you know, I thought that was a bad move on UFC's part by doing that. I thought it was distasteful. But, I mean, he was not in danger of losing his job.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't affect him monetarily. You know, it's their company. They could credential who, you know, Dave Meltzer is the top wrestling reporter. He's not credentialed to most WWE stuff. So,
yeah.
Or maybe once a year. So it's not like, you know, that his livelihood is being, I mean, it is to an extent that he won't be there doing the interviews if it had stuck. But I did think his some of the stuff after was a little over dramatic. But you know, Dana had to know it was coming. But you know, they pulled off a major coup with Brock, and if that was in danger, and that report was a reason for it, and they felt like Ariel knew, and I'm believing Ariel that he didn't think that, but if it was in fact true that it could have ruined it, then I can definitely see why they were upset. Even though Ariel technically did nothing wrong, he reported something that was mostly true. I mean, he said he was negotiating when it was in fact done, but other than that, that's more semantics. But you know,
and you know, they talk about real journalists. They banned a lot of real journalists. Josh Gross is not allowed at their events,
right? And that's been since way back in the day.
Yeah, Loretta Hunt banned from their events for criticizing Dana White over, I can't remember what she criticized, but you know, over managers and not being allowed backstage at some events. I think that was one of the reasons that some people have been suspended. Now there are guys that really try to get banned. Like, you know, they write articles where they're just prodding, and their whole career is based around prodding the UFC. Well, you know what you're walking into. I mean, if somebody's entire career was based around prodding me and they did no work outside of that, then I'd probably, you know, have that cut too. I don't have a lot of sympathy for guys like that. I did have sympathy for MMA fighting and Ariel Helwani because that's a bad reason to kick somebody out, especially their videographer and their photographer, two of the best in the business. Of MMA.
That you know, and it was all cleared up within days. I just think the situation obviously got overblown. But you know, at the same time, who knows? If Ariel didn't do all that, would their credentials have been reinstated? I guess you don't know. So yeah, ultimately, it you know, it's good that cooler heads prevailed, and we'll see how that, you know, hopefully their relationship continues, because they are, you know, them and MMA Junkie, they are the best MMA news sources out there.
And the last thing before we go, the Raw rating jumped up 500,000 viewers to 3.467 million viewers. This is up from last week's 2.97. I thought the show altogether was pretty good, Raj. I mean, we have people that are always like, you all hate everything. Well, it's a 3-hour show. We're going to hate some stuff. What do you think was the reason for the jump? I mean, for one, they didn't go against the NBA Finals.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely had to be a big part of it. 2 world title changes, and you know, I mean, there was a ton of buzz coming out from last night's Money in the Bank because of Game 7. I know for us, it was kind of on par with other of their B shows, but the day after, yesterday was, you know, almost like a post SummerSlam day. It wasn't a post WrestleMania day, but there was just a ton of interest. So I'm a little surprised that it jumped up that much. I thought it would probably be in the 3.2, 3.3 million neighborhood, but yeah, that's a huge,
not a bad number.
Yeah, it's not a bad number for where they are right now.
What do you think that we're gonna get maybe the week of that draft? If this number is 3.5, do you think that it's possible that the WWE can get up near 4 million again this year?
Well, the draft isn't on Raw. And
it's on SmackDown.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's on SmackDown. So I don't see SmackDown on the first night on USA getting, anywhere close to that. I could see them getting up to 3 though. So, but realistically, I would probably put it at, probably in the 3 neighborhood, 2.9, 3.0 in there.
Guys, myself and Rob McCarron will be back tomorrow night at 10 p.m., Wednesday at 10 p.m. We're going to preview this Friday's Ring of Honor pay-per-view, which I'm covering. Very excited about that. We're going to talk NXT. More news coming out of this. I'm sure we'll have more information about Roman Reigns. Thank you for submitting your questions. Raj, anything else you want to leave the people with?
No, I think that's it for now.
Guys, until next time, we are out.